All right, so welcome everyone. Good to have you. Welcome to everyone listening to this online as well. So today's topic is emotional release. It is something that many of us experience on the spiritual path, on path of meditation. There is a point when you relax very deeply, when you let go of physical tension, and so forth, that very often for many people it is felt of some tightness or restriction or sense of anxiety, frustration, worries, all of a sudden just appearing in the meditation session, and sometimes even great fear and terror. And so why is that happening? So when we do this meditation practice, first of all, we're always letting go of tension that is in the body. That's the first kind of step. Letting go of physical tightness by learning to relax. This is something that we need to learn. Normally we are quite tense in our body. It's quite difficult for most people to feel at ease in their body, to feel relaxed and comfortable. So also, many times people practice a certain exercise that increases the tension in the body. It makes the body even more tense. Sure, you look ripped, but you're a bundle of physical tension. It's not released and relaxed. So it's really important to practice also to relax the body, to release the body. It's the same thing the body does when it goes to sleep, right? It's releasing tension. The muscles relax, and that's when the body then goes into a restoring mode. It starts to restore. It repairs the cells. It renews itself. It refreshes itself. And in order for it to do that properly, it needs to relax. You can't, if you're holding a tension in your arm and you're making a fist and you keep holding it, it just gets more and more painful because all the energy is stuck. So while practicing a certain exercise, for example, that creates a bit of tension in the body, can be healthy. Release is just as important. Relaxation, softness are just as important, just as healthy. And when you relax the body, you're not only just relaxing a piece of flesh, you're also relaxing your emotional body as well. As you might have noticed that you're feeling your emotions in your body, right? You're not feeling them somewhere like on your right side or on your left side, somewhere over there 10 meters away from you. You're feeling them in your body, very specific spaces in your body that you're feeling emotions. For example, in the chest, going up into the throat, or like for example when you have like a severe panic attack, then there is a very strong upward movement into the throat. The heart is pounding and so forth. There's this sense of constriction in the body. There might be a general anxiety that is in your body that makes your body generally tight and tense. When I'm sitting in meditation, I'm not perfectly relaxed in my body. Yeah? When I'm sitting in meditation, then I also notice that there are all kinds of subtle tensions that habitually pop up again and again. Then I release them, I move a bit further to the next body part, and the old tension comes back. As soon as I'm not paying attention to it, it just comes back again. It has gotten better over time. Yes, with practice this gets better, of course. Yes, so there is a benefit of practice. It's not that you will stay tense and only relax during meditation practice. You eventually become more aware of your body also during the day, and you start to relax. You start to notice when you're tense in your body. For example, when your shoulders are going up, or I don't know, when you're unconsciously just holding your hand really tense around something, just for no reason. Or grinding your teeth, or just making your forehead really tense and tight. Even there's no reason for doing that, but it just happens. Some people, they just sit very relaxed, waiting for something, and their forehead is incredibly tight and tense. They look like they're angry at something, but they're just sitting there waiting. That's a sign of the mind as it is reflected in the physical movement in the body. For example, being very much locked up in your thoughts, in your thinking, it makes the face a bit more tight and tense, less released, less relaxed. And so there's many of those habitual tensions, and many of those tensions, they're connected to emotions, such as emotions like fear or sadness, grief. Most people don't breathe properly. Breathing up here into our chest, into our throat, into our shoulders, into the upper thoracic cavity, but not deep down. If you look at animals breathe, for example, it's a different kind of breath. Cats, they breathe into their belly. The whole breathing motion is going on in their belly. It isn't going up in their shoulders. But for us, very much of the breathing happens in the upper part of the body. And as soon as you relax and you start breathing with your belly and you start practicing abdominal breathing, you will notice that old stuff is coming up in the form of thoughts, but more importantly, in the form of feeling, of emotion. If suddenly you think, what's wrong with me? I'm feeling grief, or I'm feeling depressed. For no reason. It's nothing really going on. I just feel really bad. Many people think, oh, today I had a bad meditation because I was feeling bad. That is not true. Or let's say it's not necessarily true. It could be true. Yes, if you're practicing some kind of technique in the wrong way or practicing a technique that leads to more tension, then that could be true. But as you relax, as you sink inside of your body, you're dropping the whole inner body, you're allowing it to melt, you will notice for yourself in your own experience, this is something that happens it's an unconscious process, but most of the time we're holding ourselves up inside. To me, this is almost like a symbolic way of holding a mask up in front of us. Like showing the world a certain image of the way you think that people would like you. And then we're holding that image up in front of us all the time, which is hard work, and it requires tension to play the many roles of self, of ego. And then you can see some people, they're more adult, they're more settled. Some people, they're kind of stuck in their teenage years. They're still playing a lot of roles. They still want to be loved by everyone around them. They still want to kind of get a certain emotional feedback from other people. And it's all very dramatic for them. Like in teenage years, you go through puberty, it's very dramatic, lots of change. Some people get stuck in that. And then a real maturing process, the leaving behind of the many roles we try to emulate. In puberty, you try to find your role. When you're becoming an adult, you try to find, like, who am I in this world? Who am I supposed to be? You look around you at all the adults, and it's hardly anyone that really knows who they are and what they're supposed to do in life. There are only very few people with very strong purpose, very strong leadership skills. Most of us, we don't really know who we are. And then we only have one option. We can look around us and we can inform our mind via the media, via our parents, via our friends and so forth. We can inform our mind and kind of try to figure out, like, who am I supposed to be? And that can be acted out in physical roles you play. Who am I supposed to be? I'm supposed to be more fit and healthy. I should look more in shape. That is very strong identification with I am the body. For other people, is I should be more intellectual. I'm not clever enough. I'm not smart enough. What do other people think of me? If I'm opening my mouth, they might think I'm not intelligent enough. There might be that kind of fear. So they're very identified with the intellect, with the mind. And all this role playing, this identifying with certain emotional roles, the feeling of you, the feeling of me-ness, that emotional feeling. I'm not even talking about the intellectual idea of you as a self. I'm just talking about the feel that you have of yourself, the general self-feeling. Me. Feels like this being me. We all have it, right? And for all of us, it's an emotional experience, that me experience. And as you relax in the body, those emotional facets, these roles that we continuously play, they start to become soft and they start to liberate themselves, or you can say heal themselves. Now, all we need to do in that case is just get out of the way. You can think of ego as like a little cleaning staff in a hospital that likes to invade the surgical room and pretend to perform surgery on someone, and it always only does one thing: it messes things up. It disturbs the actual surgeon, who does a great, fantastic job, if you would just not disturb him or her. That little cleaning staff coming into the office, into this room and saying, "Let me do this, I can do this, I will heal myself now." And instead of actually healing yourself, you're messing things up. You're creating more turmoil inside, more disturbance. Life, everything in life is seeking balance. Every atom seeks balance in relation to other atoms. Every planet, the whole system in the universe is so finely tuned, so well balanced. If you just disturb a little bit over here, it has severe impacts over there. You can't just influence one thing separately from all else. It's all impacting each other. Everything is connected in that way. It is interrelating. And so ego doesn't feel that way. Ego feels like there is this and then there is that, and I want this and I don't want that. I need to cut this out and I need to get more of that. It's very black and whitish. Ego is things in black and white terms. In me and you, mine and yours, this and that, left and right, breathing in and breathing out. It doesn't see the process-like flowing nature of everything in the universe. It can't see it. It is in a way blocked. So if we go beyond thought, beyond verbalization and all that kind of narrative, and you start to feel yourself experiencing that feeling state of ego, the emotional ego, that very often comes through just tapping into the body and relaxing. And I just have like a suspicion, but I think the reason why most of us keep ourselves so obsessed with busyness constantly is so that we do not feel that we don't feel the mess that's there. And busyness is a great way of avoiding that. And we don't have to look at what's actually going on. Personal story, when I'm not on retreat, I really look forward to retreat. I'm like, yeah, I want to go to retreat. Soon I go to retreat. In fact, next week I will spend 2 weeks on retreat. And I'm really looking forward to this. I'm fired up. I'm like, yeah, just 2 weeks of silence and just meditating and doing nothing else. Fantastic. I guarantee, once I'm there, I will look for anything but meditation to do. I will sit down in my room and I will probably organize the cushions and I will probably try to clean the room, even though it is perfectly clean already. And I will try to see what's outside of the window, and I will, maybe comes to my mind that maybe I should read a little bit more about meditation or listen to some of my teacher's teachings. That might be helpful. That might help me to meditate a little bit more. I would do anything but to just sit down and face it. It's very scary to face myself, so I would do anything in order to avoid sitting quietly with myself. And yet that would be the only thing that is actually healing. What we need so desperately. Attention. And you can give that to yourself. You can give it to your intellectual mind, you can pay attention and notice how it works. You can give it to your emotional makeup, to your emotional body, and see how it works. And that's all it needs. That's when that cleaning stuff finally steps back and realizes, okay, I'm just cleaning stuff, and the surgeon takes over and does a perfect job at healing. Meaning you leave your emotional body alone for once. As scary as it might be, can you leave it be? And that's when it starts to regulate itself. Like I said before, everything in the universe, and that includes your emotions, is seeking balance. And it is seeking a healthy state called life. It wants to, everything in the universe wants to sustain life. It wants to help life to grow. It's just we're constantly in the way, ego is constantly in the way, trying to live life, trying to pretend as if it was the thing, that the very thing that lives life is me. But you're doing nothing. You're not pumping your heart, you're not making your blood flow, you're not regulating your cells, you're not doing anything pertaining to the body, not even this tiniest little thing. The body is doing all that by itself. You're not digesting food either. You're not digesting it. You're not doing nothing. And you're not the one allowing your arm to be lifted to your mouth so you can put food in that hole. It's the nerves allowing for that to happen. Without your nerves, you couldn't do anything. Without your muscles working properly, you wouldn't be able to do it. Then we call it a disease, like Parkinson's or something. You cannot move properly. You're limited. Even though you want to, the body shows you no, you're not in charge. It's the body's system that's in charge. And if that doesn't work, nothing works. And then the self will suddenly see just how limited it is, actually. Just how small, how tiny it is. Well, it takes a little blood vessel to pop, and all hell breaks loose. Tiny things to shift in our life and everything changes. And so that self that feels so big, it has to kind of do something to maintain the illusion that it is so big. And it uses the emotional sense, the emotional feeling about myself, me and myself. That is how we feel about ourselves, that feeling that we create and seemingly sustain. And letting go of that is not easy. This is not easy. This is where spiritual practice becomes tough. Because what will be threatened to dissolve is that little ego, but this is everything we think we are. It is what's doing seemingly everything in life. It's the one that's motivated, it's the one that seemingly does everything. If that is threatened to dissolve, meaning your spiritual practice actually gets serious. Now, in Christian terms, when you want to express it like this, it's either you or God. For Christian mystic, then it's not just a nice little saying, it's God is everything, God is in everything, but then it's not a philosophy, it's a real fact of experience. Can you give up that little ego thing that puts the end between you and God? That little one thing that's separate from God. Can you let go of that? And then it will reveal, no. And that's what many, many masters say, that if they would describe ego in one word, it would be no. Just one expression to kind of describe ego. One big no to everything. No to the emotions that I feel, no to myself, even no to itself. It even says no to itself. I should be different. I'm not meditating well enough. I need to improve myself. I need to change myself. That's a big no to who you are. For the sake of something better that's in your fantasy. Like the carrot in front of the horse. Makes the horse go and pull the carrot, right? It's like happiness is like this, that you run after it, but you're never really getting there. Only tiny short moments you're smelling it. Like, I'm getting closer. That feels great. And then again, it just doesn't last. And this creates a lot of emotional tension in the body. All this up and down, trying, struggling, chasing something better. That is so much tension emotionally that sure, when you are then practicing meditation, you will be confronted with that tension because it is an actual fact of who you are on the physical and emotional level. It is there. It is like this. There is tension. Now the second part would be then how to get out of this, right? Now we know that there is tension, and we know that all these emotions that we're holding and that are not acknowledged, that we rather repress or push away, that we don't want to be confronted with, but we all have it. Your guilt, your shame, your regrets, your worries, your fears, your doubts. You don't want to look at that. But it's there, and it wants to be seen, and it wants to heal. So when you practice meditation and one of those feelings comes up and it invades your body and dances in your body, can you leave it? Can you let it be? That means, can you really let it be? Not for the sake of it disappearing later. Like, okay, I'm letting my emotion be now. Hopefully it will go away when I'm letting it be. That's what many people do, by the way. This is probably the first instinct. Okay, Tobi said to let it be, so I'm going to do this now in order to get rid of it. But don't get rid of it. See it. And when you see it more and more, you will notice that you are seeing it. It means you are not it. How can you be what you see? Isn't what you see your object? Isn't it? Isn't it an appearance that appears to you? So how can you be it? Furthermore, do you have any control over it? No, it just comes and it goes. Someday you wake up and you feel just happy. Wow. And then happiness goes again and another state comes. You're not doing it. You're not the one that says, all right, I'm going to experience happiness for 2 minutes now. After 2 minutes, the happiness will change into hunger. And then the hunger will last for a few seconds. Then I will go into thinking about what I will eat. Then I will spend about 5 minutes imagining me eating food with my friends at the restaurant. And then after that, I will feel frustrated that Tobi is still not finished with the teaching. And then I will just pretend that I get a phone call, and then I will move outside, and then I will feel regret. I should have stayed longer. We're not like that, right? You're not planning your emotional day. But this arises and ceases very spontaneously, directly. You can observe that. Not you're controlling. You're not making emotions. You're not maintaining them. And you are not making them go. They come and go by themselves, like wind. It just happens that the wind fills your space and empties your space. You're like a house. So there's wind coming in and then goes out again. Now, if you see that wind as just wind, it has nothing to do with who you are, it is just an old pain that wants to free itself, then you can leave it. Then this old habit of just trying to manipulate it to the point where it goes away stops, because that's what's holding it. Your resistance, your no, the ego's no to that, is what incarcerates that. So for real emotional release to happen, we have to have the mindfulness and the spaciousness, plus the realization that the feeling doesn't last and isn't mine. It isn't me, it isn't mine, it is just a feeling. That is in the beginning maybe not that much of a eureka thing. Okay, it's just a feeling, okay, a feeling, just a feeling. Your awareness is not yet very strong, but when it gets stronger and stronger, that insight becomes more and more clear, up to a point where it's almost like a shock. Oh, it's really not me. Up to that point you were like, yeah, well, it's not me, it's not mine, this is just an emotion, okay, it comes and it goes, secretly hoping for it to go away. And at some point you suddenly realize deeply, wow, it's just energy. It has nothing to do with who I am. It's like an old recording that just replays itself. That you push the button, choop, and then there it is. And then that becomes deeper. Like a real understanding, like space grows between you and the emotion. Doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. Quite the opposite. You're slowly filled with energy, with life, with stillness, with peace. As all that other stuff, it's just life. It comes and it goes, so you can relax. So even though an emotion comes up, you're totally undisturbed by it. And then eventually that emotion doesn't need to come up anymore. It has been seen. Like a child that finally realizes, wow, Mom is acknowledging me. I don't have to act up anymore. I'm acknowledged. I'm loved. I don't have to make noise anymore to be seen. I am loved. Everything's fine. And it's the same for that emotion. Once it realizes, oh wow, I can just be here. No one harassing me, no one chasing me away. Nice, then it can melt. And it melts into comfort. Many people ask, well, that's nice with negative emotions, right? But what about the nice ones? Love, happiness, joy. I don't want to let them melt. Thing is, if you let them melt, you'll feel even better. The result of letting go is always improving the situation. Whether you're feeling great, you feel even better if you let go. If you're feeling terrible, you'll feel better if you let go. So it's a win-win. In any scenario, letting go is leading to bliss, to happiness, to peace. All you're giving up is the birth and death connection. Because one cannot exist without the other. The good cannot exist without the bad. So you let go of both. And there is peace. It's a different thing. It's a different ballgame. That is spiritual health. Mental health meaning you're happy, you're grateful, you're loving, you're kind, and you're compassionate and so forth. You have mental health. Great. Your physical health, you're exercising well, sleeping well, eating well, you know the deal. Spiritual health goes beyond all that. It's nothing to do with a happy little mind or a happy little body. It goes beyond that. It gives space for all. And that is what the ego has trouble with, saying yes to what you're experiencing. It wants to go to war with experiences very often. Therefore, you can call ego also the struggler, the sufferer, the worrier, the warrior, the controller, the one that cannot rest. That's ego. It can't rest because there's a much better future ahead. So it cannot rest just yet. The one that cannot rest because past hasn't been that good, could have been better. Okay, that's pretty much all that comes to mind for emotional release. I hope that was helpful in some way.